Hello, hello. I am back again in the studio, and today we're going to talk a little bit about trimming. So I have these pieces that I made yesterday, and you can see that I am working to wire this piece off of the bat I had it drying on. One smooth pull should get my piece off just like that, and then I'm going to move my bat and get ready to sit down at my wheel. Now that I have my piece wired off of the bat, there are 4 things that I'm gonna need. I'm gonna need my piece, I'm gonna need a large loop tool and a small loop tool. I'm gonna need 3 even-sized hunks of clay to help hold my piece in place. So the first thing I will do is I'll take a look at these rings, and I put a little speed on the wheel, and you can see right away this kind of hopped out of place. And try it one more time. When the piece rocks away from my finger, that's how I know it's not centered. So when that happens, I'm gonna stop the speed on the wheel and move the piece towards me. Now with a little bit of practice, this will become easier. But you're always moving the piece towards you as it wobbles away. Taking the time at this step makes everything easier at the end. Once this is moving in a nice smooth motion and you have it just about centered on your wheel head, you're going to take your pieces of clay and roll them into little hunks, and you're going to place them in 3 even intervals. So almost like you made a peace sign through your piece. At each point, you will take a little hunk of clay and hold your piece down just like that. Be really careful to push it down hard enough that you know it's going to stay, but don't push the piece of clay down so hard that you shift where your piece is on the wheel. So if you've made it this far, you are ready to grab your larger loop tool, and here's how I like to trim. Think about keeping my elbows locked down on my rib cage, and then I place the tip of my pointer finger on this angle of the loop tool, and I put very light speed on the wheel, and I want to come in with this first pass and just work to level out the bottom. I don't want to do anything too crazy. I just want to take a little bit of weight off the bottom, pick it off of my loop tool, and then go back in for a second pass. This time I'm going to take a little bit more off. And a third time we'll come in and just make sure that we've really taken our time and smoothed out that bottom. My clay is a new to me clay body, and it's slightly tacky, so I feel it's sticking to itself just a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to take my time. The next thing I want to do is I want to come out and clean up the side profile. So I put my middle finger in the center of the piece, my pointer finger on the top of my larger loop tool. I put a little bit of speed on the wheel, and I just come in on the side and start to take away some of that weight. I'm always so particular about collecting my scraps as I go. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I think it makes cleanup a little bit easier at the end. So now one more time, I started a little bit higher on the form and came from about the middle up to the top and just worked to trim out any leftover weight. I did a pretty good job making the cylinder yesterday, so there shouldn't be too much work for me today. Once more, I'm going to come in and just smooth out that bottom. And now would be the perfect time to come in with a sponge, a yellow pottery sponge, and just give it a real gentle smooth. Now you can see I bumped it a little bit. And that is the tricky part about trimming, is one little movement will really bump your piece out of place. So you want to do your best to be really gentle with everything you do. this is looking really good. I could come in with my favorite red Mud Tools rib and just take a little bit of that water off. And now I'm going to come back with my smaller loop tool, and I'm going to work to take a little bit of the weight out of the center right here. I start by making one ring, and then you can come in and kind of give your piece a few taps. The thicker or the less hollow it sounds, the thicker your bottom is. So if you feel like it's sounding like a little bit more of a thud, then there's a little bit of weight here, and you can cut in and take some of that out, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So my goal is to take my time. My bottom got a little bit uneven here. I think if I just use some smooth, even pressure, I'll be able to get it all straightened out again. And while it's a little bit cumbersome to stop and go to pick off all of these trimmings, it's helpful because then they won't get stuck and create a bigger problem for me later. So that's looking pretty smooth on the inside. I'm going to come in and just clean it up a little bit more in a few spaces. And this is really the time where you want to come in and address all those little things. So any lines, lumps, or bumps that you see at this point will be really easy to fix with just a pass of your loop tool or a little touch with your sponge. But after this piece comes out of the bisque firing, those little lumps and bumps and crumbs are going to be a lot sharper and a lot harder to take care of. So I'm just going to come on the outside and just give a gentle press to the whole surface, compressing it and smoothing it and just making sure that this piece is ready to come off of the wheel head. I'm going to carefully take my hunks of clay away, and there you have it. A fully trimmed cylinder that is now ready for a handle or to just go into the kiln room and dry out and wait until it's dry enough to go into the bisque firing. If you stopped by today, thank you so much for being here. If you have a question about trimming, feel free to pop it in the comments below and I'll make sure to comment back with an answer. Even if you don't have a question, feel free to just comment me some heart emojis if you loved this video and you want to see me create more content just like this. Thanks for being here.